What's up, everybody? This is the PlayStation Lifestyle Underground podcast. We are an unofficial podcast of PlayStation Lifestyle. I am Hugo Stiglitz. You can find me on PSN as Hugo Stiglitz _420. And I am also with...
Juan Ibarra. You can find me on the forums on PlayStation Lifestyle as Johnny Barra, and then on PSN as Jackman1997.
And I'm Stephen Beto. I'm a community manager for PlayStation Lifestyle. You can find me on the forums as Stephen Beto or on PlayStation Network as Tyler X Durden.
Okay, and I think we're going to do the same thing we did last week where we'll discuss some of the games we're playing. Lately I've been playing a ton of Project Cars, a little bit of Bloodborne, little bit of Gran Turismo 6, and I'm actually going to be getting back into Far Cry 4 because I just got the Season Pass. So what have you guys been playing lately?
I've been playing not very much this week, but I did go back and I played some Guacamelee, the PS4 version. That was pretty fun. I've played through it already once, so it's just really a retread through it all again. I played a lot of Rocket League until the beta ended. That was fantastic. And then I guess also some Nidhogg. I bought that during the flash sale. That was pretty cool. Small, fun little game. A lot of fun just to play with two people in the same room. Yeah, and that's really all I've done this week.
I've been stuck playing Watch Dogs, and I really want to kill this game. I hate it. I've been going for the Platinum Trophy, and I got to the end of the last thing I needed was one more of these songs for the Disc Space Full Trophy, and apparently the randomizer that brings up things on people's phones to hack eliminates this from even like contention. It's extremely rare at the end of the game to find this song, which you have to hack off one of these people's phones. And I tried for about like 8 to 10 hours to find it, couldn't find it, so I restarted the whole game over so I can get this one last thing to get the damn trophy.
Sounds terrible.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's been a miserable slag. I hate it.
Yeah, that would drive me nuts. I've always been quite annoyed the fact that the Watch Dogs, they won't let you do New Game Plus, they won't let you do a separate playthrough, and they won't let you replay campaign missions. So basically, either you have to overwrite your first save, or you can back it up to USB, which is kind of a pain. It's because I've always kind of wanted to replay Watch Dogs, like the main campaign, but I just haven't bothered. It is a real fun game though. Actually, like I think last weekend I was doing a lot of the hacking and the tailing missions. They can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the online actually is kind of enjoyable, and that's what kind of stinks about this whole thing is that like I went through, did all the missions, like all different types of the missions. I got everything for the platinum and really enjoyed the game. Like actually found that I enjoyed it even more than I noticed when I was playing the story mode. And but then this thing totally ruined it for me. Now as soon as I'm done, it's going to be a long time before I feel like playing a Watch Dogs game again. I actually tweeted at Ubisoft that I'm buying Watch Dogs 2 used.
Smart plan.
Hey, they deserve it. But yeah, we do actually have some other topics this week as well. First, I do want to apologize for my voice. I've had a sore throat all week, so hopefully it's not too painful to listen to me. But our topics for this week, we're going to talk about most overrated games, most underrated games, and then after that, we're going to go into, why esports and competitive gaming is a sport, or, whether or not people feel that it is a sport or not. But we'll save that for later. Right now, we'll start with most overrated games. For me, I gotta say Grand Theft Auto 4. I mean, I think on Metacritic it has something ridiculous like a 97 or something, and it is just not anywhere near that good. I think almost universally by the big Grand Theft Auto community, it's one of their least favorites, and it just general gamers also would definitely not put that as the best. Like, I've never met anyone that thinks that's the best one, although it's the highest rated, and it certainly is not a 98 or whatever it is on Metacritic. I mean, there's so many problems with that game. I mean, there are some really great things about it, but I think there's a lot more negative from that game than there is positive.
You said GTA 4?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, God.
For sure. And I do have two more games, but I figure we'll each just do one at a time. So it's just not just me talking for the next 15 minutes.
But just quickly going back to
Yeah.
GTA 4, I hated GTA 4. I thought it was so overrated. That just like the characters were so terrible. The dialogue was awful. Oh my God, I hated all the characters in the game. I didn't want to hear any of them talk.
I actually loved the couple. Like I thought Brucey was hilarious. I like Nico, but it's like even Roman annoyed the hell out of me. It's like I did kind of enjoy the story, but it's just like the gameplay and the city itself. I don't know. It's just far from a 98. It's like one of the highest rated Metacritic games, and I just think it's far from the best GTA. I did enjoy. I didn't hate it as much as you did, but I definitely feel like it's way overrated as far as the Metacritic goes, but not as much for word of mouth. So I mean, I guess it's not totally overrated. Then in one sense, I mean, it is as far as like the critic scores, but as far as like word of mouth and the general community, I guess it's probably not overrated, except for some people, but. As far as like the critics go, it's definitely overrated. I mean, no doubt about it.
For me, like just overrated, underrated in general, it comes into like my expectations. Like I expected that game to be literally the greatest thing ever, and getting through it just. I really did. All the characters are like cartoon characters. No one's like, there's no real like, anything. Like even Brucey and Brucey like. There's nothing there, He's funny, but, there's no substance. Like, even the guys in GTA 5, like, even though they're kind of weird and whatever, they each have, like, a little bit of substance. They're, like, a real person.
True. Like, even Trevor he is a wacko, but he does have some, sort of character to him.
Right.
Also, another character that was way over the top. Do you remember Yusuf from The Ballad of Gay Tony? The billionaire guy.
I didn't play it.
I thought that was fantastic. Like I thought the main GTA 4 was overrated, but I actually thought the Ballad of Gay Tony is fantastic. It was just better as far as mission structure. It actually had checkpoints too, which was another. I think that was a first for Rockstar, or at least the GTA series, because that was another thing I hated about GTA 4 is they still didn't have checkpoints, and it's like that type of thing. Drove me absolutely nuts, because it's like, it's already bad enough that you have to restart the mission, but not only that, you'd have to reacquire your guns and drive back to the mission or take a cab or whatever, and it's like it just made it a chore to play the game at sometimes, especially when you got stuck on some of the really hard missions. And it's like, I don't know how I used to just plow right through all that stuff when I was a kid, because it's like now I don't have the patience to do stuff like that, like that sort of thing without any checkpoints. Like I just can't imagine doing it now. But that was another problem with GTA 4. Do you guys have any different overrated games you want to talk about, or?
Steven, you go first. It's all good.
Oh yeah, sure. One really overrated game that I really disliked was Dragon Age Origins. I thought just like, after coming from Oblivion to that, I was like, this isn't open world at all. All those areas, like outside of like the 3 people that you could talk to, and even those people only had the one line they were ever going to say. No one could talk to. All the buildings were empty. Like it just felt so much more dead than Oblivion to me, and those were like my first 2 fantasy RPGs. So just like is such a stark comparison. The graphics were terrible. Like the textures were so bad, and everyone was giving it like nines and tens. And again, like my stuff goes back to my own expectations based on the ratings, and just I felt like it was maybe like a 7 or 6, but everywhere had it like a 9, or some people even get it tens. I just thought that was completely crazy.
Yeah. I didn't actually play that. Did you play it one?
No, I did not.
No, okay.
Oh, I will take your words to heart.
Yeah, I'll take. Yeah, I mean it's too bad we can't add to the discussion, but because we didn't play it. But Juan, what do you have a game you're thinking of?
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this, but I'm gonna explain it. Because if I don't, it just sounds a little heinous. The Last of Us.
What?
It's I know. And here's my reasoning for it. It's a phenomenal game. Yes, I agree. It's a great game. Fantastic. The storytelling elements. The thing is, the story itself is a little underwhelming if you take a peek at it and you actually dissect it. It's a little... I feel like if you take the story by itself, don't add any of the fantastic atmosphere or the way they tell their stories throughout the game, it is a very bare bones, predictable story. It's just the way that Naughty Dog presented the story to their core audience that made it so great. It's just that all the time I read or I hear people say, "Oh, it was a phenomenal game. It was amazing. It did great. It was great." I was like, "Yeah, it was good," but I'm not gonna call it like game of a generation. It's just I feel like people forget that the story was kind of bare, just because of how well padded it was with the dialogue whenever you're just walking in the game, or whenever you find something on the ground, you pick it up and it has a story to it. You know, just the actual, like, I believe, like, the layout for a story, if it was put on paper, would be a little lower quality than you get fooled into whenever you actually play the game.
See, I kind of disagree. I feel like the narrative, like, beginning to end, as like a closed end story, like, is a lot better than what I see in most games. Like most games,
absolutely, yeah.
You know, they have like the gameplay is king, which is fine. Like say like Fallout games or Oblivion, all the open world stuff, even GTA 5. Like those stories are, I mean, they're good, but they're not really anything special, and they're really not fit for a movie quality story. Like I felt like, you know, not only was it cinematic, but the story beginning to end, kind of like the character development and stuff, was all really good, and it fit much better into like a movie context than most video game stories do in general.
Absolutely. And I mean, I do kind of get what you're saying about it being a little bare bones, but I think it kind of had to be just because of the nature of you know, what they're doing and the nature of the world that it's set in. I mean, because, you know, they're making a cross-country journey and all kinds of things happen to them, and, you know, so there's not really a whole lot of room for much else than, you know, just what was going on. So I mean, in that way, it is kind of bare bones. It's like if you put it just on paper, it wouldn't be like a really long story. It would actually it would probably be a little bit short, just because, I mean, it's mostly just dialogue and their journey. I mean, it doesn't go really deep. Like, so it's, I mean, as far as it is really bare bones compared to, like, you know, a full length novel or something. Yeah. But that to me, that doesn't make it any less of an amazing story at all. Like, I still think it's really special, and I definitely disagree with it about it being predictable. I mean, I find it hard to believe that anyone saw the death of oh wait, spoil alert. I don't think anybody. I find it hard to believe that anyone saw it coming. The death of Sarah. Joel's daughter.
Yeah.
Or the death of Henry and his brother, I forget his name. Those were shocking moments, and I don't see, I don't care who you are. I just don't believe that anyone would have ever predicted that. And the same thing with David, everything that happened with David, maybe not about them being cannibals, obviously not, but about him, trying to rape Ellie and stuff. I don't think anybody saw that coming, especially from a Naughty Dog game. Either way, even if you just looked at it as a story itself, I just find it hard to believe that anyone could have predicted everything that happened in there. Just no way. And the ending itself as well. You could make the prediction based on Joel's character, but it's still, when it actually, you go through with it as a player, it's still shocking. Even though you can understand because of what he went through with his daughter that he might react that way, it's still another story actually seeing it happen and seeing the way it went down. And so I just totally disagree with it about being predictable. But I do see what you're saying about it being a little bare bones, but I actually think in some ways The Last of Us is underrated because everybody talks about the story or the graphics or the voice acting, and for me, the thing I enjoy just as much, if not more, is the gameplay. I think the gameplay is absolutely fantastic. Not because it's not just like a regular third-person shooter. There's a lot of layers to it, especially if you crank up the difficulty. If you crank it up to Survivor or Grounded, it's like an entirely different game, and it's you can't. That's not possible unless the gameplay is legit and just really well thought out and really good. I think that's a mark of a really good game, and I just think the crafting elements, the survival horror elements are all done really, really well, and I just think it's an amazing game. And but it's funny, you made a little controversial choice. My next two games are definitely controversial as far as what I think are overrated. I'll start with probably the most controversial pick I have, BioShock 1. And I know I know a lot of people are going to hate this, but I did not enjoy it. I just didn't.
When did you play it?
I think 2011 on PS3.
How long
I only got
that?
a PS3 in 2010, and maybe a year after I got PS3, I played it, and I just did not enjoy it.
When did it come out?
2007 or 8.
So it was a little bit dated by then.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is though,
definitely.
I had only just got the PS3 in 2010, and I was still playing a lot of old games. I was playing Resistance Fallen Man, which is absolutely dated. I still enjoyed the hell out of that, and a lot of other dated games. And I didn't really feel that BioShock was dated compared to the other games that I had been playing at the time, because like I said, I didn't get a PS3 right away. But it's just that I just did not. It just did not stack up as high as I thought it would. I got it because I heard that it's this fantastic game. It's one of the best games of the generation and stuff. And maybe that was part of the problem is I had my expectations pretty high. But the main thing was that I just didn't enjoy myself while I was playing it. And
how much did the ending factor in to your decision?
Actually, the ending kind of helped it, if anything.
Yeah, because the ending is pretty bad. I felt like the ending.
Yeah, I hate that ending.
That boss battle is for a game that's pretty original in most respects. That is the most cliche, archaic ending.
I was thinking of more of the story. When I said it was a good thing, I thought the story did, the ending of the story did actually end up being pretty good. I thought it was pretty surprising, but I do know what you're saying about the boss battle. But I don't know. It's just the whole game felt like a chore to me. I didn't enjoy the environment at all, and I thought that the environments kind of repeated themselves too much, and everything all seemed each level seemed way too similar to the previous one, and I don't know, maybe it's partly because the PS3 isn't gonna have the best graphics. But I did try to replay it on PC a couple months ago, and it's still no dice. I mean, because I played the Burial at Sea DLC for BioShock Infinite, which by the way I absolutely loved. I loved BioShock Infinite. I mean, it's
also controversial.
That's weird. I thought BioShock Infinite was a million times better than 1. I loved it. I mean, I know a lot of people were upset because the gameplay was different. 1 was more survival horror, while Infinite was more actiony. But I just enjoyed the story a million times more, especially the setting as well. Like I really liked Columbia a lot more. But even in the Burial at Sea, when I went back to Rapture, it's like I really enjoyed that DLC. So it's like, you know what? Maybe I should give BioShock 1 another try, just because I really enjoyed my time in Rapture for the Burial at Sea DLC. And nope, I got the PC version just because, I wanted to make sure it had the best graphics possible. And no, I couldn't get into it at all. I just really didn't. I just really don't enjoy the environment, the way the game progresses, and the characters as well. Like I'm not really into the characters. Like, I mean, you mentioned with GTA 4 the characters being a little cartoony, and I felt the same way about BioShock. And I just did not enjoy it anywhere near as much as everyone else does, which is a shame. But do you guys have any more games, or should I say my other controversial one?
Juan, you got another one?
Not that I can think of now.
I got one more, and it is even more controversial than yours, I'd say. Mine is Fallout 3. And
okay.
it's because
Okay, yeah.
the entire time I was playing, I could not get over the fact that despite it being, I can't remember, how long is it after the events of whatever happened? Like the nuclear war? It's a long time, right?
I don't remember, yeah.
No.
The events of this game. It's quite a long time after the events of that game happened. Or the events of whatever Fallout happened.
The nuclear fallout. Yeah.
Right. And somehow in this entire game, you don't meet anybody that really has traveled or knows anything about outside of Washington, D.C. That drove me insane. How is all this stuff still in place? This one guy somehow uncovers all the secrets of this area that have been held secret for like 100, 200 years, but nobody knows anything about the outside. That doesn't make any sense at all. That drove me insane. And then, like, I don't know if do you guys play Fallout 3 in New Vegas?
I played 3, not New Vegas.
I actually only played New Vegas for a couple hours. That's
really?
All I've. Yeah.
So, anyways, but New Vegas, like, everyone in that game has had, experiences that range outside of the area you're in. So, like, there's armies, there's all kinds of stuff that people talk about what's going on in California, like North California, what's going on in the Midwest. Yeah. Like, it's a world. Like, it's a story about what's actually going on in the world. Yeah, you're in New Vegas, but there's stuff going on everywhere, and everyone's involved, and everything's interconnected. But Fallout 3 was so, like, closed and, like, unrealistic, and it made me really, really, really dislike the game.
Fair enough. I actually agree with that. It's overrated. And not because of that. I didn't even realize that until you mentioned it right now when I played it. But it was because the time I played it in, because it came out early 2008 around there. And then I played it, I think 2013, 2012, and it just, even then it felt old. But I mean, I played older games than that. I played BioShock, I thought it was fine. But I mean, Fallout 3, it had moments where it shined, where its sense of freedom was phenomenal. I was like, oh, this is great. I feel like I'm in an open world, like I'm in a huge open world where I can actually do things that affect me and affect others around me and stuff. But it had other moments where I just felt like I was just walking through gray and brown, and I was just I got bored real easy. I got bored real easily. Whatever. It was very boring for me sometimes, and I don't know. It had great moments, but in the end, it fell flat for me. The story was very hard to get through, and then eventually I just stopped playing it because I couldn't continue. It didn't have any real reason for me to go on. Like I didn't feel like I had any reason to finish the game. Like there was no I don't know what the word is. Reason. Yeah, it just fell flat for me.
And for me,
yeah,
too,
there you go, motivation.
The VATS system where like it helps you target on stuff. Like for me, like I started playing as kind of just like a FPS, like shooting, you know. And you can't really hit. You can't play like that. You'll run out of ammo so fast.
Yeah, that also bothered me.
And I felt like that VATS thing kind of took all the action like right out of your hands. You know, like it did. They're just percentages. It's not really like a RPG, you know, structure to it. You're just picking something and then shooting at it in slow motion. Like it's doing all the work for you. Like I don't know, that took so much gameplay out of your hands that I felt could have been really utilized a little bit better by just having like better first-person shooter mechanics.
Definitely. So I mean, here's hoping that Fallout 4, whenever it comes out, has improved upon those things, and then I'll actually get into it.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's been in development for so long; it's got to be pretty, hopefully near done. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like I didn't play Fallout 3, but I played New Vegas for a couple of hours, so I don't really know much. But I would say that I am a little confused why people love it to the extent that they do. Like I totally respect it, like as a game, and I know how it can be like, you know, really insanely deep. But I don't know. Like in other words, Fallout 4 is way down my lists of, you know, games I want to play next, you know, or games I want to see get announced soon at E3. Like, but that's just me. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience, but so in that way, does seem a little overrated to me. But I really don't know because I haven't actually played enough of Fallout. But that actually is kind of related to the other controversial pick I had is Skyrim. They are both, you know, Bethesda games, and they're definitely different in, you know, a lot of ways, though. But they are both, you know, really deep RPGs. And just the reason I really think Skyrim is incredibly overrated is just the gameplay. I thought the gameplay was horrible. Like I just could not get into it. Like that game was dead to me really fast, you know, just because of that. I just did not like the mechanics. I didn't like the hack and slash gameplay. Like I didn't like, you know, pretty much anything about actually playing the game. I liked walking around and seeing all the sights and stuff, but I just could not I just didn't like the gameplay whatsoever. And for me, like a game that is that deep and that long, the gameplay has to be good, or else I just don't even want to bother with it. Like if Skyrim had Kingdoms of Amalur's gameplay or The Witcher's gameplay, I probably would have loved it. But I just didn't enjoy the gameplay of Skyrim. But that's my, you know, last pick for the overrated games. Now underrated games, I definitely have a couple of those as well. I think I want to start with the Metro series. I mean, I guess it's not underrated because the people who do play it usually are like me and rave about it, but it's not like a huge franchise. It's critically, I mean, it didn't have the, you know, the greatest scores, and I just fell in love with it. Like I played it for the first time I think a year ago or 2 years ago. Yeah, it was around the time that Last Light came out. I played 2033, absolutely loved it. Played Last Light right away, absolutely loved it, and it's only got worse from there. Like I even got the audiobooks because 2033 is actually based on the book Metro 2033.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I loved it, because the story was fantastic, the atmosphere was fantastic, the premise is fantastic. I don't know if you guys know, but it's post-apocalyptic. You don't have a ton of details of what happened. Just all you know is nuclear bombs fell, and you're the last survivors on Earth in the world's largest nuclear bomb shelter, which is actually true. The Moscow Metro is, in fact, the world's largest nuclear shelter. And basically there are mutants, and because it does take place a few years after, and you're trying to save your own station. Like they're almost like little villages and like cities, but it's basically in the metro stations. And you do go to the surface, but it's so inhospitable between the mutants and the radiation and the poison air. You only can go up there for short periods of time, and it's just a really cool world. And it's not it's just, I don't know, there's just something I really love about it. And I think that it is a little bit underrated, and I'm hoping that maybe the next Metro game, because it has seemed to, got some more notice, but it seems like more people are taking notice of it with, the Metro Redux coming out on PS4. I think did sell pretty well, and I think more people are discovering the series. And oh, absolutely, yeah, I got the Platinum for Last Light, and I'm gonna be getting the Platinum for 2033 as well.
I was thinking about actually purchasing that just because it's a pretty good deal for what you get.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, each of the games are about 10 hours long, and then you have about 10 hours of DLC after that, for Last Light. And I loved it. Even though I had already played both games twice on PC, I still got it day one and didn't play anything else for about 2 weeks. I just really love the game, and I just cannot wait for the next one. I mean, that's probably the highest on my list as far as games I want to play next. Like Metro, GT7, and The Last Guardian. But so yeah, that's definitely what I would say is underrated. Do you guys have any others you want to talk about?
First off, I'd like to touch on Metro real quick. Metro 2033, no, not that one. The other one, Last Light. I put that one on PS3 whenever it was free for PS Plus, and it was pretty great. I like that game a lot. The only thing I didn't like about it was the level structure. It just felt, I don't know how to explain it. It just felt it felt too structured for me. It felt like the game feels like it should be like a seamless experience. But then every now and then it gets a loading screen. And so it has that story element there where it has a voiceover talking. It's just that felt a little off to me. I didn't finish it, but I did enjoy what I played. It was really good. I do agree it's very underappreciated.
Yeah,
underrated.
It's one of those games that, I mean, it's actually kind of a shame that you started it, because it does kind of spoil 2033, and I don't
remember anything of it, so I think that'll be fine.
That's good. So if you do ever get Redux, it'll be hopefully fresh to you, because I love them both. I did think that 2033 was a little better, but it's just that initial experience of 2033 is just so cool, and it's the reason why I love it. Last Light was a little different. I love it too, but I definitely think 2033 is the better game. So it's a good thing you forgot some stuff. But I do know what you're saying about the level design. It didn't bother me because I've always loved really linear shooters like that. And it is good that their next one, I mean, they haven't confirmed that they're making the next Metro game, but basically they said that they're working on an open world game. That's all they would say. And I have to assume that it's going to be another Metro, because they 4A Games, that's the name of the developer who made it, they were a part of another studio that made Stalker, which is this legendary series on PC, and it's basically a post-apocalyptic open world, survival type game. And so it just makes sense that they'd go back to open world now that the consoles have caught up and can handle the type of game that they want to deliver. So I really hope that is what they're working on, but I gotta assume that it is. So I mean, I think that you'll probably enjoy that a lot more, since you're not as big of a fan of the linear type level design in Last Light as I was. But either way, they're both fantastic games and really cool stories.
I'll have to try them out sometime.
I actually just looked.
Yeah.
It's only $30 new at Best Buy, and only $20 used.
Nice. Yeah, you can get it pretty cheap. I mean, it came out for $50, which is pretty good for a remaster. And the other cool thing is I mean, they didn't just remaster 2033. Like, they really rebuilt it. They put it on the Last Light graphics engine, which is a much more modern engine, and they redid a ton of stuff. They even changed the gameplay to match Last Light, so it's a little less wonky. Like, I mean, it wasn't bad in the original version, but I was like, the gameplay, all the improvements they brought with Last Light was they brought back to 2033 for the Redux version. So that's just another reason that it's a good time to get into the series. Yeah, what else we got for underrated games?
This is kind of like a little bit controversial. Is I think everything that like Suda51 makes is underrated. I love Suda51, and I actually haven't played too many of his games, but what I have played, I have like just fallen in love with. I absolutely adore. So for if you don't know who he is, he makes really weird and crazy games. Most recently, two of them were Lollipop Chainsaw and Shadows of the Damned. Both of which I enjoyed thoroughly, and I'd love to go back and get platinums in both someday. Just the quirkiness with the third-person gameplay. Like, I'm a huge fan of third-person anything. I really enjoyed them very much.
Yeah, I was always intrigued by the gameplay, just how over the top it was, just how in your face it was. It seemed like a bunch of fun to play those games, but I just never played one.
He's working on a game for PS4, isn't he?
Yeah, Let It Die, but it's a free to play type game, so I don't know. It's tough. Like, I really hate to see talent wasted like that. I hope it's not wasted. I hope it's a good game, but when you hear free to play, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely hear you on that one, and like when I heard that Deep Down was going to be free to play, I thought that was a bummer, because I think that's the type of game that would definitely be better if it wasn't free to play. But at the same time, it's like, I have played free to play games that were still amazing, like War Thunder. I mean, it's not pay to win. There's still a ton of content you can unlock, even if you don't pay a dime, and it's just a really, really cool game. So, I mean, I guess there aren't a ton of examples of great free-to-play games, but it isn't impossible for a free-to-play game to be, good.
That's true. DC Universe Online, when it went free with no subscription, was really, really good.
It was a shadow of what it is now before it went free to play. It was barely anything.
Oh yeah, Greg Miller will tell you it's the greatest game of all time. But oh wait, I think he says that about Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. But either way, he loves that game, DC Universe. So I guess that's another example of free to play not being too bad.
Yeah.
It's just you need the thing with free to play is you need the critical mass, which throwing a subscription on things really hurts you from getting a mass of gamers in there to make it feel like alive. And I think that's what happened with DC Universe Online was everyone knew about it, but no one wanted to pay the subscription. So once they dropped the subscription, everyone flooded in, and it became so alive and so such a lively universe to play in, and that's what really made it very successful. Ultimately.
Yeah. Another pretty good one is Planet Side 2. Seems like there's a lot of game to play, even if you don't spend a dime. But Juan, did you have a underrated game you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I did. It's fun. It's pretty funny that you mentioned this topic, because I don't know why I did this, but like 2 or 3 days ago, I went to my notes on my phone, and then I wrote a list, and I put underrated games, and I just put one game under there. I put Ghostbusters the video game.
I've actually
It
heard
was
that.
yeah, it's a great game. It's so phenomenal. Like, if you love Ghostbusters, this game is phenomenal. It's Ghostbusters 3 pretty much,
Mhm.
but it goes up in quality from 2 because 2 was terrible. But the video game, like, it pretty much it has all the voice actors from the films, and then also I believe that it was the screenwriter wasn't the guys from the movies. It was because they helped to do it, but they weren't the main screenwriters. Um, yeah, Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd, I think. I might be wrong on that. I don't know. I haven't checked, but but the story on that, it was every Ghostbusters fans. It was like a love letter to Ghostbusters fans. It had all these locales from the movies you could play through. You were using a proton pack. That was pretty cool. You could pretty much relive a mission from the first movie where Slimer gets out in the hotel, and you do the whole thing, and you go into the ballroom and you try to get him. It's like, and it does it in a very non campy way. Well, I mean, campy for Ghostbusters is good, but I mean, it wasn't like too cheesy. It wasn't too dumb. It was felt real. It felt like it worked. It was just a great Ghostbusters game. It was a great movie license game.
Yes, it was a great fan service. I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan myself, and I really did love that game. Just hearing it, the dialogue, the back and forth it was something you had been missing for so long, and it was so great to see it
Yeah,
come back and look so strong.
love that
All right.
game.
I still have another two underrated games I wanted to mention. One is Killzone Shadowfall. Um, it didn't get the greatest review scores, and I don't know. It's not like the hugest first-person shooter, but I think it's just absolutely amazing. Like the multiplayer is fantastic. I mean, it's not perfect, but it is really one of the more balanced and more fun multiplayer shooters that I've ever played, and it's probably my favorite multiplayer FPS as well. But one of the
Oh,
really cool things about it is it lets everyone play the way they want to play. It's not like Call of Duty. You'll have like a camper or a sniper, and they just annoy the hell out of everyone else. And
Yeah,
for whatever reason, Killzone is just one of the few games that it doesn't matter how you play. There's something for everybody, and it just all works itself out. Like I mean, like campers aren't a huge problem, although they exist. Snipers aren't a huge problem. It's just a game that lets you have your fun while you're playing online, unlike any other shooter I've played. I don't know why I can't pinpoint it quite, but it's just a really underrated shooter. Also, the single player. I thought the single player was awesome. I mean, the story it wasn't executed in the best way towards the end. I won't go into any spoilers, but I thought that just the gameplay itself was really cool. The plot was pretty cool. The whole idea of the Hellgas being on the other side of a wall infect the city. That was pretty cool idea, and just the way you were kind of hopping from different locations throughout the game. It just wasn't all in Vector City or all in the Hellgas part of the city. It was, you hop around, and also the open-ended level design was really cool. There was really a whole bunch of different ways to do each objective. Metro was actually kind of like that too. There's a bunch of different paths you can take in some of the levels. But then just other than that, Drive Club. Drive Club, I don't know. I guess I kind of know why, because like we were discussing in our episode where we talked about game reviews, it seems like some nowadays if a AAA game comes out and doesn't have a lot of innovation, it'll just get hammered and destroyed. And I think that's the case for Drive Club, because although it doesn't do like a ton of new stuff, I mean it does do some new stuff with like the online aspects and stuff, and as far as like like challenges and leaderboards and clubs and stuff. But what like the stuff that it does is it does it really well, and it's the most important thing about a racing game, I think, which is the actual racing. I mean, the handling is awesome. I mean, it's almost perfectly situated in between like a simulator and an arcade game. Anybody can get into it, but someone like me who's more into the simulation can still enjoy the hell out of it because it's still grounded enough to where it feels natural and intuitive to play. And also, I mean, there's just tons of tracks. There's a lot of cars. The tracks are really well designed. The graphics are obviously bonkers, and it just nails the racing because it's one of the, I think it's the only racing game I've ever played where the offline racing is as good or if not better than the online racing, because that's how good the AI is. Like the AI, they don't hit you a lot, which is a problem in a lot of other racing games, but they're also really fast. Like, so it can be exhilarating to play it just against the AI, which is not something I can say about a lot of other racing games. So I just think it's a kind of a shame that they had the launch problems, because I think that the game deserves a lot more credit than it's been getting. I mean, other than the people who are actually playing it, because there is a ton of people that are just, raving about this game the way that I am, but it's mostly just the people who actually own it. Someone who hasn't tried it, they just wouldn't know, because I don't know, it just seems like Sony's not really pushing it anymore, and hopefully they do the PS Plus edition, because I think really when a lot more people get to try it, they'll actually realize how awesome it is.
Right. I think they're probably waiting to make sure it's perfect before, because they know the PS Plus edition is what's going to save the franchise.
Yeah, that's what I'm really hoping is because, like, it was a really good game, but it didn't get the greatest review scores. Then I had the launch problems, and I just really hope that Sony doesn't, make the mistake of canning the franchise, or even worse, canning Evolution, because...
Well, I don't think they want to. I think that's why they're doing things the way they are. Yeah. I think that they're setting themselves up for success by waiting until it's 100% ready for everyone to play for free.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and, because, I mean, the word amongst the community is really, really positive. Like, I mean... You go to like forums or even just articles about the game, and there's always some people raving about it. Like it's not it's not really like, sorry.
Even the reviews that came out kind of before it had launched were pretty positive. I think it was averaging like an 8.5 or so. And then what really killed it was those
actually pretty bad.
Reviews right after, they really hammered it because the people were having so much issues. And then, that really dragged its average way down.
Yeah, that could be it also. But I think like a lot of people, when they hear Drive Club, they think of just, that's that game with the launch issues. The people who don't know, but I mean, really, it's an amazing game, and I think it deserves a lot more credit than it's been getting. And hopefully, Sony realizes that. They realize that even though there was a launch issues, that Evolution did actually make an amazing racing game.
Right.
Which is hopefully the PS Plus version will help that along. But I think they're a little, they're trying to make sure that the PS Plus version releases with no problems at all, because they don't want another another launch problem like they had with the full game. Yeah, that's my last.
Going back to Shadowfall really quick. What hurt that, I would say, is that it was a launch game, so they didn't really get to flesh out the online mode because they had to have the reviews done before the console even really was out.
Yeah, actually, I think I mentioned it on that review podcast we did, but for Shadowfall and Knack, that Sony held a review event in New York, so basically all the media had to go to a hotel in New York, and they had that weekend to play both games and then do their reviews. And so I think, like I mentioned before, I think that absolutely would negatively affect almost any game, if you do it in that type of situation. Because personally, I'm not a fan of playing games in one sitting, especially when I have a deadline. I don't think any game should be played to a deadline. You know what I mean? I think you should play it at your own pace and the way you want to play it, instead of having to do it. And so I think that's another reason why some of the reviews were mixed. But overall, I mean, it's an amazing game, and also, I still think it's the best looking game on PS4. It's a launch game, so it's really amazing what Guerrilla did, and I don't think they get the credit that they deserve, except for fanboys like me. But all right, you guys want to get into the next topic?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so esports, competitive gaming. Now, I think factually it is a sport, and I'll explain to you why. The definition of sport is competition based on physical activity. It doesn't really go into a lot of detail, the definition. I mean, it doesn't say that you have to be athletic. It doesn't say how much physical activity has to be involved. All it states is that the competition itself has to be based on some kind of physical activity. And in that way, professional gaming and competitive gaming, it definitely is that. Like, I mean, it may not seem like much, either using a mouse and keyboard or using a controller, but there is absolutely a ton of dexterity and a ton of skill involved. Like, you couldn't just take a new player and get him to play, professionally, no matter what. Like, I mean, even if he was like a bioengineered super genius that could play mentally as well as any pro player, it just doesn't work that way, because I mean, you need to take the time to hone your physical skills and your dexterity with the controller. I mean, the difference in your ability to aim is what decides who wins in a first-person shooter competition. I'm sure it's the same way with some of the other competitive games like StarCraft and stuff. I mean, so the physical skill that those guys have is pretty crazy. Like, I mean, I haven't seen a ton of it, but I mean, they're going like haywire on the keyboards and stuff, and it's like, I mean, that is physical skill. That is a lot. Like, and the competition is decided on the physical activity as much as it is on the mental. And it's not just what you do mentally in competitive gaming that decides who wins. It is how good you are with a controller, how much practice you have, and how accurate you are that does decide it. And so I think it more than meets the requirements of being a sport according to the definition of it. I understand why people say it's not. The same people probably think racing isn't a sport, but that's another example where the competition is decided based on the physical activity that you're doing and how good you are physically, as much as it is with how good you are mentally. So, to me, that's why competitive gaming is definitely a sport.
Juan, what do you think?
I would not label it as a sport. I do have tremendous respect for the esport players, and just because it takes a ton of skill, whether that be physical skill or mental skill, just StarCraft and all that, having to manage all your resources and stuff. I believe it's a very, very large-scale competition, but I would not call it a sport. Mainly because, I don't know, I guess traditionally sport would be just something like football or like baseball, all that stuff. That stuff, actual sports, it's on a larger scale. And I mean, I do understand why esports are called a sport by some people, but I personally would not call it that, or label it under that terminology.
Agreed.
Well, the problem with that is,
I think it fits into the definition, but I disagree that the definition was set up to encompass such a wide range of things. I think the definition probably needs to be reworked for our current society, now that so many things are kind of falling into the definition. It's a little too broad. I think
Fair enough, yeah.
something even as simple as, racing. I don't, like, even foot racing. Like, I don't feel like that's really a sport. That's a competition, and it takes athleticism, but that's not really a sport, in itself. There's difference between competition, people competing against one another, and actual sports. for me, the main difference is like a ball or a puck or something along those lines in the game that people are um, competing over, and I don't know. It's more complicated, I would say, than that the broad definition.
Well, the problem with that is that you guys are putting your own assumptions and your own ideas of what a sport is into it, and that's just not how it is. I mean, like I said, the definition is pretty simple, and you might argue that it's too vague, but some other people might argue that it's not, and it's just fine because ESPN is starting to cover professional gaming and stuff like that, and it's becoming more widely recognized as an actual sport, and definitely racing as well. Like, it's definitely a sport. I mean, people see it. Oh, you're sitting down and this and that. But I mean, the funny thing is some of the most well-conditioned athletes in the entire world are Formula One drivers. I mean, their conditioning would make any football player look like a joke, frankly. I mean, football players only have to play for like a couple seconds and then they stop and set up the next play. You know what I mean? I mean, I understand that people traditionally see sports as the big four: hockey, football, basketball, baseball. But I mean, that's just not what the definition of sport is. I mean, if you look it up, like I said, it's physical activity based on competition. And I mean, a lot of people make that mistake of putting their own assumptions and their own definitions of what it is, but that's just not what it is. So I think
I think that's
the issue
you're
that a lot of
allowed to
people
do
have.
that, though. Like, just because a definition's in the dictionary doesn't mean it applies to every situation and it is true throughout time. See, I kind of disagree because I mean,
I just feel that
ESPN. I mean, a lot of people have been pointing to that too, and ESPN just puts things on that'll make money. They show the spelling bee, for instance.
True.
I mean, that's not a sport.
Yeah, I agree with that. And same with poker. Like, poker or chess, like, it's not the way you move the chess piece or the way you put down the cards that is the competition. That, like, you could have someone else do it for you. And I mean, although there is physical activity involved, the competition isn't based upon it. It's based on what you do, not how you do it physically. I mean, so that's why I see chess and poker as not sports, but gaming definitely is, because like I said, it is how good you are with your physical skill and the what you're doing physically that does decide the competition as much as what you do mentally. And like you're saying with there needing to be a ball, that's just not in any definition of sports. I mean, and I don't think it's right for people to add their own stipulations to a word or a category of something just because that's what they have been brought up to believe. I mean, and like I said, if you look it up, I mean, it doesn't go into any type of stipulations like that. It doesn't say anything about how much activity you have to put into, or if there has to be a ball, or how athletic you are. I mean, it's a pretty basic definition, and I think it's a frankly a mistake to put in your own assertions into what sport actually means when it's already been defined. Whether you like it or not.
I mean, it's been defined, but I mean, by whom and when? I mean, it's a long time ago by a small group of people.
Personal.
I mean, why can another group of people make up another definition that's more accurate to our current society?
Well, but who's to say that your definition is more accurate than the current one, though?
Exactly. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying, I mean, saying one is more accurate than another, I mean, that's what you're saying. You're saying that the one in the dictionary is all-encompassing.
I'm not saying it's more accurate. I'm just saying it is what it is, and it's been that way for a long time. So, and I don't think it's fair for people to change what the definition of sport is just because they don't think that certain things are a sport.
Well, I think
like I don't follow esports.
It's becoming
I don't follow
inaccurate.
competitive gaming. But there's also a lot of other people that don't feel that way at all, and feel that if anything, sports should be changed to include more things like gaming and stuff. although it already does if you really look at the wording. But I think I think people have their different ideas of what a sport actually is, and I think that's the problem when really the definition is quite simple, and it does includes things like gaming, which it's not simply like I don't really see the how you're saying that it's just a competition, it's not really a sport. I don't really get that distinction there, because I mean a competition is part of sport, and it's all that the sport has to be is that it's a competition based on physical activity, which professional gaming is.
And how about this? If you label any activity as a sport, then in that case you label the players as athletes. I feel like that's a little.
No.
I don't. You say no?
No, it's. I mean, there's nothing in the definition of sport that says that the people competing are athletes. You could call them competitors instead of athletes.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, like I said, like a lot of people make their own assumptions and stipulations about the definition of sport, and I think that's the problem with the whole debate, is that people are adding their own personal input into it. And I mean, really, if you look at factually,
well, I think that the debate is much larger than the definition in the dictionary.
Yeah,
I think that's the long and short of it.
Opinion based.
Yeah, it is more opinion based than just a definition.
And that's why there's so much controversy over the topic.
I mean, if it was just as simple as that, I mean, there's not much of a debate. I mean, I think me and Wano both agree that according to the definition in the dictionary, it would be qualified as a sport. But we feel like the definition is inaccurate because it's not really a sport.
It's very vague.
Right.
Very vague definition, yeah.
Well, I guess we'll just agree to disagree then.
Right.
But I guess we'll wrap it up. We went for a good amount of time. I guess we'll hopefully see both of you guys back next week, and hopefully Brian will be back with us as well.
And I know I talked to Joe. Joe's trying to get back on too.
Oh, he is? All right.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for listening. See you guys later.